I really got to get my computer fixed. Okay, there we go. All right, now they can hear us. JPI warning.
JPI warning.
Oh, bro.
All right,
dude. I'm telling you, no joke. I got to get this computer fixed. Like this computer is.
Yeah.
it's lacking, to say the least. But what's up, everyone? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Fault Partner Panel. Hope you guys are doing well. We appreciate you tuning in. We unfortunately don't have Senor Goose. He's going through power struggles right now, so I guess we're gonna have to find him like a Duracell sponsorship or some shit like that, because I don't know. We got to get this man on the grid, bro. Living in the mountains ain't cutting it. But yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about what's been recently going on in Fault. We're gonna go into it, but first we're gonna introduce ourselves. So Senor Dapper, if you could introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are. What are you about?
1 second.
Good morning.
While he's doing that, fix your mic. You got that reverb going again.
All right,
Thank
you.
Dapper,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dapper Dice, and I am here as a voice for the newer part of the community. That I come from Overprime as my main game to this whole situation. So coming into Fault, that's why I'm here, to have that POV of new to Fault. And that's the biggest reason I'm here, because Overprime's cool and all, but I'm here for Fault's reasons, hence the Fault Partner Panelship. So yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I am the Bearded Wolverine, your Michigan Wonder and also Fault Partner. Excited to be here and excited to pick Dapper's mind to see what we can do to get this game to be in a better situation for the new players.
Mic not working? Okay.
While we're waiting for Windu's mic to pick up. Sorry, good old technical. Windu's got he's got a computer that's ran by a guinea pig, and the guinea pig is tired.
Okay,
right now,
I'm back.
so.
I'm back, bro. Hey, man, leave me alone. My computer's legit 2010 specs. Okay, I'm making it work. Like my computer's still running on DDR3 RAM. I have no SSDs in it. Like, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. Okay. But
Hey, and you're able to join us, so you know sometimes that's enough.
oh, at least I don't need Duracell batteries. Anyway, so what's up, guys? I am Windu, also known as WinduTheMace. I do everything from mobile related content, a little bit of racing here and there, strategy games. But as we mentioned earlier, this episode of Fault Partner Panel is, of course, mainly going to be related to talking about Fault in itself, the latest updates, our opinions, what we think they should change, adjust, implement, etc. I do want to throw in that little disclaimer that I've been doing lately. These videos are meant to be more of constructive criticism, so we do try our best to stay along those lines. And even though we do compare Fault to other games at times, totally natural, we try to keep it as Fault related as possible. But you guys want to start talking about this whole Gamescom comment? Because I'm telling you, I want to go right into it, bro.
I mean, for this convention, I've never been to one real, and you know, the fact that it sounds like it wasn't even announced in the actual Discord itself, it sounds like they just dropped the ball a little bit there. But
So-
whatever they end up doing there, good for them.
I'll be honest, I might be just somebody that lives in a fucking cave. What the fuck is Gamescom?
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say. I've not even heard of that convention, so that's why I was like, I don't go to them. So hey, whatever that is, good for them. But
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know what that is.
so granted, I've never been to like any in person, right? Like, so I've never even been to like the Twitch Con or whatever. So do you know a bit about it, Bearded?
Before this announcement, no, I knew nothing of it. But talking to, I'm probably going to say her name wrong, but somebody that's a part of Menaces and Lowe's community, Dini, Diini. She's from Germany. She knows about it, and she has been to it before. She said it's more, when she went, she said it was more like, kid based or whatever. But I mean, that's kind of what games are anyways. So I mean, games aren't always, us older
Grown
guys,
as adults, yeah.
Exactly. So, but I mean, so it is pretty decently known over in Germany. So then, for those who didn't know, that's where it's at. It's in Germany. But I don't know.
Okay. That makes sense.
I agree with Dapper. It was never an official and on the official announcement page, which is something that Fault almost always does, is puts their stuff like that on the announcement page and then makes a tweet about it. But it was only on the socials, so it was definitely different. They did the reverse of what we talked about back in like episode 15, how they're not using their socials, they're only using Discord, and like people need to put this information out there farther, and use socials as well. Now they just reversed it and used only socials and didn't use Discord, and so, well, wait a minute, use both. Like make the same announcement on all platforms. Discord's still a social platform.
So I looked up Gamescom on my phone just to see, what it was, what their website was. Make it to Gamescom. Get your ticket now. The biggest gaming event worldwide. Be the first to discover the latest releases, meet your community, and experience the festival feeling up close. What are you waiting for? Buy tickets now. So
that sounds hype.
The claim of biggest gaming thing in the worldwide. That's what?
I mean, well, hold on.
I think TwitchCon gets more information, more people than
but TwitchCon isn't game related. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and then the E3 doesn't happen anymore. You know what I mean? So they don't have that convention. There's no competitors out there. I mean, granted though, that little line sounded dope as shit. That's a hype fucking line, bro. Like you were reading that shit, I was like, I bet it's in fucking Germany, low key.
Well, as soon as I read the announcement, I read the tweet. Oh my gosh, you can tell I'm a boomer. I read the tweet and I'm like,
the
tweet. You stupid twit. Anyways, when I read the tweet, I was, oh man, and I instantly looked it up. I'm like, where's this at? I want to go, because I thought it would be awesome to show up, and plus they entice me. If you show up, they have like goodies or whatever. I don't know. They have more hats or shirts or whatever. I don't know. They have something. I want to go. And then I found it was in Germany. Well, I can't make that. Yeah, that's it's a little bit far for me. So
interesting. Which it is worth mentioning. I'm pretty sure Ryan still is from Canada, as far as I'm concerned. So he's flying to Germany for this, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
That sounds like the implication. I found
it's a nice little trip.
An excerpt as well. Like before, but only better. You have waited. We are back. Better than ever. Closer than ever. More exciting than ever. And we offer you the gaming festival you've been longing for from August 23rd to 28th. You can finally experience the world's largest computer and video games event and Europe's leading business platform for game industries live and carefree again, thanks in part to our tried and tested hygiene and security concept. For all of those who would rather be online, of course, we will again offer an extensive digital program in 2022. Look forward to seeing you there at the exhibition halls.
Oh, whoever writes those, yeah, that man's earning his money, for damn sure.
Yeah,
so that shit sounds lit.
They're there. They need to get that hype guy and bring him over and have him type up all the announcements from now on, and that right there will the marketing right there would be perfect.
Bro, that shit sounded lit, bro.
Just the fact that it's online and it's in person,
like that,
is going to be huge, I think, for Fault and their marketing, because they're able to, the people they're going to have Balix there, which Balix we know is the meme funny guy. He's going to be there and he's going to be entertaining the crowd, and the crowd's going to see what Fault is in person, and they're going to either get hooked or they're not going to get hooked, and that's fine. It's not going to be for everybody, and we don't expect it to be for everybody. So, but we're going to get gamers from this. Like the player base is going to grow from this Gamerscom.
Mm-hmm. And as you were saying, like, marketing the joke as like bring that guy over, I feel like that's what this whole convention is the start of, because SMS has talked about getting into marketing soon and putting the name of Fault out there. So I feel like this might either be the first step or going to come right before they do their major marketing push. So I feel like by going in person and meeting people, getting those people interested so they can spread the word themselves, that can lead into a massive online thing, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, I mean, you might be onto it. This might be the beginning of that push that we've heard about for quite a bit. Because I will say, so at first, initial impressions, I was thinking, I'm like, is that really what they need to be doing or what they should be doing? Like, it's not that it's a bad idea, but when I'm looking at different bullet points and it's like, hey, things to start doing.
Richter's still out of the game. Iggy still needs to come out.
Well, I mean, so giving credit that Ryan and Balix had nothing to do with all those fixes, right?
Yeah.
That's the community. No, I got you. Before somebody gets confused, like that's the community manager and the social media. What's Balix's official title? You're gonna fucking kill me.
We'll say social media manager. I don't know.
Social media expert.
Dev. I don't care.
I'm a fucking horrible. My bad, bro. But so I will say, seeing those two together in the latest dev stream was very refreshing. They really did vibe off of each other very, very well. So I don't disagree with that little dynamic duo going to the event.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
The reason I think that was very refreshing, and this is no shade being thrown towards Sylphin, but Sylphin and Ryan are too similar with the very soft and monotone voices that Balix brings that what's the word I'm looking for?
The energy, that sort of, dichotomy.
Right, but it's that when you contrast, brings that contrast to the situation. You have Ryan, who has that more of a monotone voice, cool, relax, and then Balix being more of the let's poke jokes and be funny situations. It's a perfect. It's the same thing when you got sports. You got your color commentator, and then you got your analyst. Right, your analyst is going to be right to the point and talk about what's going on, and your color commentator is going to be the one just pulling up stories and just kind of entertaining the crowd. Dynamics. In between things, and it works perfect for that. So that is, to me, is why I think it was more refreshing, and I think it needs to continue being something like that. Sylphin coming on and talking about certain, when we have the next hero, right? He can come on and explain why we have that hero, but it can be the three of them. It can be, Ryan and Balix doing the beginning of the stream, and then, all right, now we're going to bring in Sylphin, and he's going to tell us why Iggy has the kit that he has, right?
Yes, bro. Get all three of them on there. Ed, and Eddie that shit, bro.
There you go.
So, and then at that time, Sylphin can roll out and move on from there.
Yep. I mean, hearing you guys talk about it, and quite frankly, just getting a little bit better understanding of this whole Gamescom. Like, shout out to Real Easy in the chat. He said it's a game presentation event, kind of. You set up a booth, people can come meet you, try your game. It's very similar to E3. So if there is, like, imagine you go to this event, even if it's just like in a little corner, they got computers set up that you can try Vault. Right? Like, imagine they got 5 computers, so you literally can be like, every 5 of those will be one person on the team, even if they got them doing AI matches only. You feel me? Like, people to get in and try, they're gonna be like, damn, bro, I kind of want to check. This shit's free to play. I'm gonna try this shit when I get home.
Yep.
And events like that, there are plenty of journalists that go to events like that. There are plenty of content creators that go to events like that looking for the hottest new thing and stuff, because they want to make content also. So just understanding it a little bit more. I mean, it's not a bad marketing opportunity. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what the results of it are. But it's not a bad idea. I can't help but wonder also how much, like, what amount of costs are being put into it. Like, are there going to be computers? If there are computers for people to try the game, does SMS have to pay for those, or are those provided by Gamescom? You get me?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Even if computers aren't there, they're probably going to have at least gameplay showing, probably, different characters doing different awesome moments, because it always has to be an epic moment. And just being at one of those conventions doesn't necessarily, it always puts a good light on you, because you are a game at the convention. Even if you're not the best game, just the fact that you're there is enough for some people.
It gives validity.
Oh, yeah. It's just the validity of, like, oh, you're at this kind of a con. That means, you have at least some sort of merit behind it. So I think that is enough to get some people to try it out. Because even if people don't, like, go up to the booth and look at it, they'll be like, Fault, interesting, that's cool. Maybe I'll think about it when I get home. I saw
it at GameCon, so it must be legit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Dapper. Does this help get rid? I mean, to me, in my opinion, but I'm also a Fault game player, and I've been playing for a while, and I never felt this way. But Fault has been known to be considered that cash grab, that company, because they came out and it was a paid early access, and then now here they are with loot boxes, whatever. So they still have that cash grab or money hungry, whatever. Them going to this Gamerscom and they're doing stuff to help promote the game. Does this help get rid of that, or does this not do anything in that situation?
I don't think that it'll correlate directly. I think the fact that it is free to play flat out now is going to help dispel some of that. And yeah, loot boxes exist, but there's nothing really to incentivize you to get a loot box. And they don't even like incentivize monetization inherently, because all of the boxes you get, the lesser orbs and the prime orbs, you can open
give you everything.
Keys. Yeah, they give you everything, and you don't need keys to open those. So
Right.
I don't think that going to this convention will worsen or better the situation. I think that
Okay.
going to this will simply just get more people to look into it. So maybe by diffusion, like more people going into it without that mentality will be the best way to, sort of dispel that, is like less people hearing about that and more people saying that it's just a free to play where you can earn everything by playing. That's going to dispel it more than any form of advertising, I'd say.
And I think you hit an interesting point, because if we all recall, in multiple instances that they do mention marketing, they always try to sneak in there the phrase, there's a larger player pool out there than just Paragon fans. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So they've always said, it's like, hey, we're tailoring towards Paragon fans, of course. Look at the game.
Mm-hmm.
But they've always had that ambition of like, hey, we're not only targeting Paragon fans. We're trying to target all MOBA players and all maybe new to the genre MOBA players to come bring in. But I think you hit the nail on the head, that they might actually just be like, hey, would they know that their biggest critics are going to be Paragon fans? By all means, their biggest. Somebody can come from Smite, League of Legends, they'll have feedback, but they're not going to sit here and be like, that's not the way Twin Blast plays. You get what I'm saying? So
I totally get that, because I'm one of those people. I'm not sure how many people here knew this, but I had no idea what Paragon was. When I came into this, it was Overprime's closed beta test 1, and that's it. So I am, relatively new to this entire Parazombies thing that's going on. I'm new to each of these characters. It wasn't until Fault that I played Morgesh, Crunch, Richter, any of those people, because Overprime didn't have them. So I'm that person that's like, I don't know how this person plays, but this is fun sometimes. So,
And that is
sometimes.
why you and me were talking
Sometimes.
before the show. You and me were talking before the show, and you were talking, telling me some of your experiences and some of your builds that you would have with certain characters, and that's why it's so easy for you to use their names for the Overprime names, because to us as Parazombies or Paragon, we played Paragon, so we know these characters, right? So for me to go into Overprime and to call him Shade and not Revenant is so hard, because I'm like, no, that I'm watching. It's because a completely different skin, fine. All right, it looks like, hey, this is just, he plays like Revenant, right? But this is Shade. But the exact same skin, it's like, this is Revenant. I'm sorry, I know you're changing his name for your reasons, but to me, this is Revenant.
So I will
That
say,
makes sense to me now. I didn't know that until now.
I will say though that I think over time, even people like us are going to be just fine and call them Scott and all that shit, right?
No,
No,
never call him Scott.
Bro, no, because here's the thing. It's like when you did your branding name change, right? For a good bit. Hell, you're still saved in my phone under the Cooch 4.
Right.
You're still in here as the nickname. But it's just legit, maybe for a few weeks, we'd be talking, and then out of nowhere, I would just be like, hey, Cooch, Bearded. It happens. You feel me? I totally get it. But now, I don't even remember when's the last time I called you Cooch by accident, bro. Unless right now where I actually bring it up, I'm like, you're just Bearded.
I purposely will not call him Scott. The other ones, I understand. Your point is valid with the other names, but I will not. That's the worst name they've ever picked in this whole situation, right? Unless they would have kept Daryl as Gideon, that would have been a different story. All right, but we're getting completely off track. Let's get
Yeah.
I literally didn't know that when you came into it. So, but that makes sense now as I heard you talk, because you were so clean with the names and how quick you were. I'm like, man, he knows these names. I also knew you're an Overprime fan, so I'm like, all right, that's why I chalked it up to be until you just said that. I'm like, oh, makes sense now. So, but yeah, no, I think with Gamescom, also another benefit from this, right, is because it's an online thing, right? There's online also. I can't think of the names of them, but there's other game shows or whatever, like, hey, this is what
like the Xbox gaming, like the Xbox One, the PlayStation, the Nintendo, whatever.
Yeah. And then there's streamers that will stream it and show it to their, all right, hey, this is the PlayStation one. Oh, this is this year's PlayStation. So you have all these streamers streaming it to their community. So any of these communities that stream the Gamescom information, they're gonna see Fault.
And a lot of them are gonna post that bot on YouTube of their reactions to games.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's gonna be spread out even farther. It's not, not just the people, all right, I'm going to sit here and watch Gamescom myself. It's the streamers that are going to stream it to their community as well, and their community is going to see it. So it's even farther outreach. This is what we talked about episodes ago, about casting a wider net. This is what they need. And not only are they going to cast a wider net, there's people with literally Incon today. Incon is a huge Smite streamer, right? He plays these other games. I watched him play Overprime actually, and now and today he did a sponsorship stream for Fault, and I watched him play. He had 800 plus people watching his stream as he's playing Fault, and the time that I did watch him, he had nothing but good things to say about it, and he was playing AI matches. He was playing AI Gideon, and he had nothing but good things to say about the game. So things like that like all of that information just being put out there like that is just going to be great for that. So, but on my point with that about in-kind thing, there's people that are coming in there and say, oh wait, wasn't this Paragon or whatever? They don't even know about Fault. They don't even know about Overprime. They literally don't know about the Paragon remakes, but they know about Paragon, right? So those people who go to Gamescom or watch Gamescom and they're like, wait a minute, that looks like Paragon. I played Paragon on PlayStation, or I played that on PC, and that's going to bring them back as well, because some people don't even know this thing's even either one of these Parazombies are up and running or in the ability to or are in that process of coming back. So that's going to be huge for us.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just going to throw a quick little shout out to Eternal. He's in the chat right now. Eternal literally, and I don't know if you remember me telling you this, Bearded, but Eternal literally, every time one of those sponsor streamers, like probably anybody with like more than 80 viewers, like 80, 100 and up, right? He'll go in there and he'll purposely ask them, it's like, yo, how do you feel? How do you like it? And he just said in the chat, like almost everybody that he watches has positive feedback. He has to ask them, like, pry for the information. Hey, what don't you like? What feedback would you give and shit? And he sends me a bunch of it, frankly. Like, I got essays from people saying stuff, which, shout out to him. But then I gotta say, like, the fact that people are playing these games and thoroughly just enjoying it, quite frankly. I'll just give a quick little shout out to Strange Matters, because I mean, they've done a great job over the last 2.5 years ish, right, like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's partially becomes, especially more recently, most characters, when you do something awesome, like even if it is a double kill, to some people might not seem insane, but to other people, like pulling a double kill off feels satisfying on a lot of characters. Especially somebody like Feng Mao, where your ultimate resets, your dash resets, and if you can pull that off, it just feels good. There's a lot of characters where chaining from one person to the next is so possible that it feels good to do those things, even if inherently it might not have been the most amazing thing. It feels good, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I love pulling off a double kill because that means I did something that I'm not good at twice.
Fair.
Oh yeah, bro, I can't with you. But I mean, let me ask you guys. Let's say, let me just pose a hypothetical here. You guys think Strange Matter is actually going to get on-screen time or just the booth? Because we all know that there's main highlights that get shown, but that doesn't mean that the entire floor and every single game there got the event. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's you had to be there to see it sort of thing. I think they're gonna get both, and now how much on-screen time they might get, I don't know. I mean, go back to like we're talking about the PlayStation, Xbox ones. Like, there's some of those they just kind of run through, right? It's not an in-depth like, hey, here's our trailer, and we're gonna talk to the devs and have the and tell you what it's all about. It's probably just it could just be
like almost like, hey, we're gonna put 4 games up here. Hey, here's the latest early access games, and in one of the corners you see a little bit of a preview with the Fault name. It says Fault Elder right, over top of it, and you can see some gameplay behind it, while it's going. But it's also right next to, I don't know, give me some other early access game that's out right now, and then right below it some other early access game that's out right now, and then and it would just be that, and then it's there for, I don't know, 10 seconds, and then it goes to the next screen. All right, now here's our top whatever games. I think you're still gonna get screen time, but it just might not be a drastic amount.
I mean, worth pointing out too that they are taking their video editor, the one that does make their commercials and trailers and stuff. He is gonna be there. You feel me?
Right.
So if go ahead.
Yeah, I again new to the whole Fault thing, so I don't know the devs. I don't know who does what. I don't know any of these names, and I know even less about Gamescom. So I don't know what they would put on the big screen. I don't know what they would, how much SMS is going to put into wanting to be onto the big screen. I feel like with Bearded though on that, where I feel like they'll get a trailer out, and that'd be it at most. They're not gonna go up on stage and talk. The biggest reason I think this is because, Fault was also in a movie. So it feels like they have the resources to get into those bigger screen things, but they're not going to try and get a full segment. So again, it'll probably show up on like a trailer on one of the bigger screens. But I feel like the booth is the selling point anyway, because it is a smaller company, that you get to meet the devs, you get to meet with them in person and actually get to talk to them instead of just some representative of the game. So that's another big good selling point, is you get to meet the people putting effort into the game and not some marketing person where their job is only to sell the game.
I mean, fair enough.
That's a great point.
If I were them, I would totally pull that shit. Yeah, and if I were them, I would totally pull that card to at least get a trailer in there. Like, hey man, or at least, like you said, it legitimizes you once you show up at a convention like that. It's like, hey man, our game was featured in a movie, where we already got approved for a slot, hey, what are the chances we can get a trailer in there, bro?
Our video
come on.
So if we need to make any modifications, we good.
Oh, I think you guys might be on point with that. I would assume that at least a trailer, maybe nothing even crazy, like a 30-second trailer or something like that. Like if you guys can remember back in the day, well, obviously you weren't aware, Dapper, because you didn't do the Paragon game. But Paragon actually showed up at E3 at one point when it was towards like early. It was just like a little, hey, trying to gauge interest from communities and stuff. It was pretty decent. Like, you'd be surprised what a simple trailer does. I know people that the moment they'd watch a trailer, a trailer of a fucking cat walking through an alleyway took the internet by storm, and then everybody's like, what the fuck is this cat game? I gotta buy this shit, bro. And now you got people spending literally days worth of gameplay being a cat walking around and doing the story and shit like that. But all it took was that first trailer to gauge the interest. And I think if they could, even if it were a paid slot, I would do it.
Right. I agree.
That just makes sense to do because, having a trailer shows optimal gameplay. Because obviously you're not going to show a trailer and then you getting murked 3 times in a row. So it's going to show what can be done. It can show those cool moments, those double, triple kills. If they showed a pentakill, that'd probably be awesome as hell, and people would love that. But I don't know what they would show in the trailer. But like, if they did an awesome moment, people are like, I can reach that, and that's the big point there.
I mean, just using the free-to-play trailer would be good enough. And shout out to, I'm gonna say this name. I'm calling him Tokam. Sorry, I really don't know how to say that name, so I'm saying Tokam. He said that,
I would have 100% said Tokami PP.
Yes, so
that's probably what it is.
Tokam. I don't know. I'm gonna say Tokam, and but I think that because I love what they did with the free to play trailer. They used all gameplay. It's not none of any of that extra, generated stuff or whatever. It's literally all gameplay. So this is what the game is, and that would be good. Mason's right. Nice.
No, I just realized that is like a play on words in Spanish that literally says "touch my wiener." It wasn't until I said it out loud and be like, that shit doesn't make sense, and then I hit that SAP button on my mind. I was like, Spanish. Oh, I know what the fuck I just said. Okay, got me.
Nice.
So actually looking at the free-to-play trailer, because I missed that had ever come out. I just played the game. Yeah, it shows a lot of really cool moments. It shows the player at like half health, turning a fight, 10 HP, turning a fight. It shows a lot of ultimates going off. You get Decker ultimate with the steel going into the middle of it all. Like, it just shows those cool moments, and I feel like just showing that would be more than enough, because as you know, I was kind of half paying attention to who said it, but it's not CGI trailer. It's not trying to show off the story and the lore behind it. It's showing off the gameplay, and that's what a lot of games need to start showing. Is this is what happens in game. This is what can happen in game, and I think that's a good thing for it.
Gameplay does speak volume.
Oh,
like we can all remember E3 for years on end. Every time we look, it was like something about this new game. That's the game I've been waiting for. They show zero gameplay, and you just sit there like, what the fuck? They didn't show any gameplay?
Yeah.
See, I was the gullible one. I'm like, oh my gosh, this game looks amazing. I can't wait to play this. And then I get it. I'm like, this isn't the graphics that I saw on that. What's that?
You're a No Man's Sky guy, I can tell.
This is not at all what I paid for. What is this? No, I was always that gullible guy that didn't understand it, but I wasn't as bad as my dad. My dad come home and watched me play Madden. He's like, I thought you were actually watching a game. You're playing the game. I'm like, come on, it's not that good at graphics. Get out of here.
I mean, he might have been saying that shit just for you.
Yeah, but I think showing that free-to-play trailers would be a great thing to do just as a segment, and then just like, fade to whatever kind of screen they want, Fault, Elder, or that'd be good enough. Tell you to get it on Epic and then Steam.
Yes, in that order. I'm all about it. I think Gamescom, no matter how much money they have to spend with Ryan traveling over there or whatever, I think it's going to be beneficial no matter what in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe it was Wolfie said in the chat, what if they're waiting? Like, what if they do get like a quick little 30-second trailer and they sneak something new into the trailer? Like something that nobody knew about.
So that, and I saw a comment really early on, like at the end of that trailer, whatever it is, the Iggy reveal trailer, if they wanted to do it then, like, newest character, when you get home, you can try this character. New to the game, nobody else has tried yet except Paragon players. But
you think they're gonna pull some E3 shit like that? Like, it's like, hey, this character will be accessible tonight at 9 p.m. if you want to try it out. Like, oh, okay.
I wouldn't put it past them, because that does multiple things. That gets people to remember Fault that day. When they get home, Fault is available with that new character. And for anybody waiting, the people like us that are already in the community, we don't get the trailer then wait 2 weeks for it to show up. We get the trailer and then later that day. So we don't have to wait even longer after hearing about Iggy being announced. So if they did do that, that would be a good thing, because it'd get people at the convention to think about it later that night, and then us to play Iggy that day.
As great as that sounds, like I do agree that does sound really good, but right now the Fault veterans have been sitting here at a very stale state with lack of content, and something needs to change in that situation. But
a second, could we dig into that little subject for a bit?
Yeah. So I think having us wait even longer for Iggy when we already thought Iggy was coming, 2 weeks ago, a little more than 2 weeks ago, we thought he was coming when free to play was happening, and then we're all right. Well, what's gonna be happening right after free to play? And when now here are we 2 patches into free to play now, and we still haven't gotten them. So like that making us wait even longer for actual content, it's the game's pretty stale. So I think that'd be actually would hurt the current player base. Would it be great for the new to get new people in? 100%. I completely agree with that. I'll still be here playing it. I'm not going to leave it for that, but I don't know how much we're going to lose in that situation if we wait that long for content. Now you can give us something else, give us the skin to grind for or something or whatever, while we're waiting for Iggy, I guess, but something.
Yeah. You know what actually surprises me? And I believe it was last episode where with Jedi was in the last episode, right? Viking Jedi? Yeah. Was that the last one or the one before?
I believe so.
So when he
Stunt was last episode. It was one before.
Okay, one before. So I remember a conversation 2 weeks ago. Then we brought up the fact that adding a recolor of a skin probably not that difficult once they already have the framework for the original, right?
Right.
I gotta say, and again, I'm biased as hell for the color, but I thought those overprime white and purple skins were spicy, bro. And they were just simple recolors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I could easily, even just giving some content, right? Like it's like, hey, like we have these 5 recolors. Like those are just normal skins, nothing special about them. But we have these 5 recolors that we're gonna introduce. And you know what? The community gets 1 skin per week. Bam! That's already like a month and a week worth of people waiting to see what new skin are they gonna release with. They already know the color scheme. It's like, oh shit, it's a Bellica skin. Dope. Or oh snap, it's a steel skin. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And it would be, even if it's just a standard skin, it would be a recolor, just something. Like, and that's why I get concerned, but at the same time, I start wondering, like, what the hell are they planning? You feel me? Like, it's not like us partners know. I'm like, yo, what the fuck are they planning? Like, why haven't they released something? You feel me? I feel like all signs point towards give them something for the hype, but they haven't.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, coming into this just before free to play and then into free to play. If you want to think about it this way, I've actually the game has actually lost more stuff than it gained since I got there, because as people in the chat have been mentioning as well, Richter was taken out. So it's like I joined the game, found a character I like, and he was taken out of the game, and understandably so. His ultimate is crashing the games, but like when you come into a game, and if you did really like Richter, a technical issue took him out. So for people that have been playing for so long, content's almost being removed for some people. So to add something back, even if it's not Richter, because I don't know the technical issue behind that, if it is just up for a skin you can grind for, or an event where you can get more prime orbs, since those are the better orbs, something to do, not only would that benefit older players and giving them something to do, new skin, new content in that regard, but it would also give new players a reason to stay. So having, like 5 skins once a week, if you play 10 games or play 20 games or whatever, that's generic enough to that way you can,
that'd be cool community engagement.
Play any character, it get people to replay the game as well, and you got like a cool recolored skin at the end of that. That'd be awesome. Or, maybe what they could do is play 10 games and you get like a specific new style orb. And what the orb does is it gives you 3 champion shards of 1 champion you don't own yet. Maybe they do that so that way they can get champions for new players. I don't know.
Or getting the orbs involved in a way.
Yeah. Something to get people even more into the game. I feel like that would be something good.
And you know what? I could totally see them doing like Twitch events also, because you know how before they straight up just gave skins away on Twitch, which they still could do by all means. But I could totally see them going like, hey, we're going to give away orbs during the Twitch event, but these orbs aren't any orbs. They're going to be special orbs. They're gonna be purple orbs or whatever the fuck. You got me like Twitch orbs.
We got the purple core and the prime core. So
So put the Twitch logo on it. These are Twitch orbs. But like I could totally see them doing stuff like that. But let me ask you guys: do you guys think that content is either a motivator to stay or a motivator for like more people to play more? Do you think content is enough, like a new skin?
I feel like it can be both. If you want a bigger impact, obviously you have to do something bigger than just a single skin. But by having an event go on, you know, that can do multiple things depending the size of the event. Like if going into fall they change the map to look more, you know, fall based, you know, sort of like how they did the winter and the Halloween map change. You know, you can advertise that Fultz Elder Orb now with a new look for the map. New players will be like, oh, I can get into this event and see what it's like, and they might stay because the gameplay's fun or they like the map. And then older people will be like, hell yeah, the map looks different, I want to explore it, see what they changed, you know, stuff like that. So it can be a bit of both depending the kind of event, because new people want to be like, hey, I want to get on this event, while older people, it's okay, something new finally. Ugh.
Mike Wolfie in chat said, put orb codes on those alcoholic Mountain Dews. Oh, I feel like that would actually cost quite a bit to throw that bitch in there, bro.
Yeah, definitely would.
But so kind of like Mega saying in the chat, so they have talked about certain events like Winter Veil and Halloween. Thank you, Shadowfest. Holy shit, I'm horrible with my memory. So they've mentioned that they want to put focus back on these events because they love doing these events in the past. I don't believe they ever confirmed that they were going to do map reskins like that, even though I did think that was dope as shit. Those are my favorite versions of the map. Like, what'd
you say about that? You don't think what?
I don't think they've confirmed that if they do a Shadowfest or Winter Veil, that there's going to be like this map reskin. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not.
You worded that? No, it's not confirmed for the map reskin.
But it's implied?
It's confirmed. It is. I mean, I would say it was implied. It is confirmed that they're going to do those events again, just not guaranteed. Like, because right now Shadowfest is the next one that would be up. Time-wise, with them pushing free to play, them getting everything else set up and marketing push or whatever, they might not have time to get everything ready for Shadowfest, but they're trying, at least. Not a guarantee it's not going to happen for Shadowfest, but they're trying at least to get it ready for Winter Veil if we can't get Shadowfest. But again, that's all to be determined as well. That might not happen. We might have to wait till next year, or we might get some other event that happens. Maybe we'll get like a Leprechaun, you know, St. Patrick's Day skin, or, you know, map rework or whatever. The towers are 4-leaf clovers shooting shit at you, you know. But I don't know. Or Prime is a leprechaun.
What the fuck?
It's a pot of gold. It's a pot of gold.
The pot of the gold is the raptor. Is a rainbow shooting from Orb Prime to Raptor.
That would actually be lit. And just have the pots of gold. That's what I'm saying. Like, I gotta say, at least map content wise, I'm really surprised that we haven't seen much more creativity beyond the rework that we saw, where they did add a lot of foliage. They made the map look way nicer by all means. But given the creativeness that we've seen before, like in the Shadowfest one, the Halloween one, we saw jack-o'-lanterns everywhere. The atmosphere was different and shit. That was lit. During the snow one, legit, like it was just like it had snowed everywhere. I'm an island boy. I don't even know what snow looks like in real life, but that looked pretty damn good on the game to me. You feel me? But I gotta say, like, I'm actually kind of surprised. But I like here's my double-edged sword when it comes to Strange Matter and content, right? Because I've seen them in the new content. We all can point out that that latest Decker skin, that's pretty spicy. The Astro Gideon, pretty spicy. we've seen quality out of them, right? But at the same time, and I gotta say that black and red Gideon, oh as fuck, that whole Sith looking vibe, just make his hands glow red. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, please.
But I will say, seeing how they did their season 0 pass, and that they came up with multiple skins and everything, and they had it organized right, seeing that they have now the quality to make these really, really nice, good looking skins, and not getting anything for a little bit here, that makes me feel like we got like a ticking time bomb of content that they're about to throw at us. Because we've seen the production rate in the past, and then we've seen that quality go up over the years. So if they have a certain production rate, if they have a certain amount of quality, where are the skins? Statistically, we should have plenty by now. I think they got it in the vault. You get what I'm saying?
I think this goes back to the marketing sort of thing where it's more than just here's a trailer for more people and here's, a reveal to an attempt to get marketing out there more. I feel like it's more than just, waiting for that thing. It's waiting for that content drop that you're expecting of more skins, deeper looking skins, a tier 4 skin where the effects are changed, like on some of the skins, stuff like that. I feel like they're waiting for that content drop for the marketing, because if they just start leaking this content out before marketing, it's nice for the people that have been here for so long, don't get me wrong, but then all that content's going to be out and then people are going to get into it
and miss the hype. I get what you're saying.
It missed the hype of it all. And I still think they should be putting content out between now and then, but it shouldn't be their biggest things yet.
So do you guys think Gamescom will be that moment to like, hey, this is where we start off our marketing? Because I thought it was going to be with the whole movie thing. I thought it's like, yo, like Lionsgate and BuzzFeed, they're marketing the movie. They're going to double down and market their game. Extra influx coming in. But apparently it didn't start with that. That was just free marketing they got from BuzzFeed and Lionsgate, which, by all means, they ended up winning. But if not that moment, which arguably is not too common to happen in a lot of games.
Oh yeah.
What moment is the moment?
I don't know. I'm hoping it's soon, because it's needed. Like I thought with the movie and free to play was a great hype. Like we build up. All right, we're getting hype. Let's ride the momentum. Let's keep it going. Let's push it. All right, fine. You want to wait a little bit and to make sure everything, the epic transition goes smooth, which it obviously didn't go as smooth as we wanted it to. But like, all right, now people are playing epic, no problem. The crossplay is working, no problem. Let's go. Let's keep this, going. Well, that hype is gone now. People aren't talking about the movie unless it's a meme. People aren't talking about free to play unless it's a meme. Like it's not the excitement for it. People are like, oh my gosh, come play this game. It's free to play. People are like, oh, come play this game. It's an overprime predecessor waiting room. Oh, come play this. It's it's a waste of time. It literally is like it's all more negative comments now than it is any of the positive comments. We lost that momentum, and I don't know why they didn't take advantage of it.
I mean, I will say, and again, my following is typically newer players, right? One of the homies that you actually had the pleasure of going up against, Bearded Alpha Wolf, he hadn't played Vault in like over a year. He basically went AWOL. He was starting up his business and everything. He came back. Yeah, he came back and he was like all excited. He came in the voice chat like a day ago, and he was like, "Yo, bro, did you know Vault is in a movie?" and I was like, "Yeah, man. Of course I know. Come on, bro. Who are you talking to? Of course I know."
Right?
And he's like, "Bro, that's sick. That's awesome. Good for them." And I was just like, you know what? Like, there are still people out there that really do feel like, hey, that was a cool thing. They don't have to care for the movie, but shout out to them. They're getting shit done. you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it also was kind of unclear with the marketing. I talked with Bearded about this at some point, but it's like even to older players like who thought Iggy was going to come out with free to play. I thought Iggy was going to come out with free to play. I thought like that's what it. Agreeing with both of you, like the best moment would have been during free to play because that's a movie, that's free to play, that's free marketing, that's a new character. And wasn't Iggy in the movie? I
Yes.
haven't seen it yet.
That
Yeah.
was the big thing.
So,
That was the whole,
a-
you never go full chicken.
That's a big wave to ride.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Like when you show that character off, like so much of that feels like it should have just naturally transitioned. And even if it wasn't on the day of because of technical issues with Epic originally, you know, like a few days later, because some people thought, okay, maybe later that week Iggy will show up. And yet here we all are still lacking that character, still lacking new content. It's just as everyone's been saying, it's just unclear when it's to come. And Gamescom feels so far for the people that have been playing this game for years. But if they are waiting for a singular big moment, that's gonna have to be it. Anything beyond that, you're just gonna keep losing that hype, and it's keep gonna get worse because, you know, the fans, people that play the game, if you say you're going to a convention, if nothing comes of that outside of just trying to get some people out there and just, you know, good for them. But if it's not the start of marketing, then it just comes off as unfortunate that we started to
Like
market,
missed
but still
opportunity.
nothing new. Yeah, still nothing came of it. Like you marketed it to a few people that showed up, but the people that are still online that couldn't go to the convention, what did we get? We got, who knows? You know, that's the thing. It's a missed opportunity if they don't do it, to say the least. I'll be right back. You guys continue.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
And shout out to Expert in the chat. He's saying people get more excited for a game that they can't play than a game that they can play. And I said that's very true. There's a reason why E3 made so much money for so many years. There's a reason why people see a trailer, they get hype as fuck, and they're hype as fuck for the next year, even though they can't play the game. And then when the game comes out, it's like, yeah, you know, I don't know if this was worth the $60 or something. Or the quite opposite, be like, yo, this game was amazing. I'll use Gran Turismo as an example, right? So it's natural human behavior to want what we can't have, by all means. There's a reason why almost everybody and their mother wants like a Lamborghini or some shit like that while they're driving a Corolla. Nobody's excited that they have the Corolla, you feel me? But because it's just like an accessibility thing. You definitely lose a lot of hype when something is accessible, regardless of the subject. And when something is easily accessible, you have to keep constant change. You have to keep constant innovation in order to keep it exciting.
Yep.
Which we've said it before. Shout out to Smite because they've come up with a great way to bring relevancy back to their game and you know, like the scuttlebutt and everything. Because at the end of the day, people, even if you don't play Smite, the moment skins get brought up in the mobile world, you bring up Smite. I don't have to play Smite to know they got some cool skins that they're dropping over there. You feel me?
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, go ahead.
I agree. I agree with Extort. You know, they dropped the ball. Like, to me, I think what you want in a mobile world, and I don't know, because I never marketed a mobile game. I've never, you know, whatever, managed a mobile game or whatever. But to me, what makes sense in my head is you're not gonna have constant peak type and just keep that going the whole way. That's not gonna happen. But you're gonna want peaks and valleys, and you're gonna want to minimize your valleys and maximize your peaks. So you're gonna want to keep that going, you know, like a heartbeat monitor, right? But those longer valleys that you have, you know, those droughts of no peaks, it just makes it loses the actual hype for the actual game, not just for the hype for whatever you're talking about, not the hype for Iggy, the actual hype for the game. People playing the game or whatever, like, nope, I'm not enjoying it. You know, like it's come stale. You know, that's the biggest thing. So you got to have those peaks and valleys, and you got to minimize the valleys and have more peaks. And sometimes I think SMS their peaks are just talk, and then you wait forever for the actual thing that you got hyped for. You know, with the Iggy situation, we got all hyped for Iggy, and now we're waiting forever with this long drought of a valley, you know, and, you know, waiting for that peak to get the actual content peak. You know, it shouldn't be like that. It should be get the hype, bring the actual content, keep that hype going for a little bit, and then we're going to drop back down to a valley, you know, until whatever the next thing. And it's not going that way. And it hasn't really gone that way. The last time I can remember it going that way was the Decker Grimm, with the build up for Decker and Grimm. That the way they brought that in, like,
that was spicy.
And then a week later, another tease, and a week later, another tease, and then they finally dropped Decker and Grimm, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's who it is, whatever, you know. And then you build your way to it. Other than that, like, I can't remember the last time that I got like excited, and it came pretty quick.
I think that's why. I think that's why certain words are used. Is we're not asking SMS for frequency. We're not asking for constant content. We're not asking like every week bring us something new, or every month even bring us something new. We're asking for consistency. If we know it's, say, every 4 months, then we can at least be ready for those 4 months. But with nothing, to my knowledge, being consistent, there's no relative schedule. Like, even if it's a 3 to 5 month period, the next character, next skin, next update, whatever, it's just so inconsistent, because it sounds like, you know, half a year for one character, full year for the next, 2 months for that guy, change of the map this time, free to play now, then suddenly marketing's up in the air. It just sounds like there's no consistency in it all. So you could hear all the awesome stuff you want, but with no knowledge of when it's to come, it's just white noise. And I think that might be the biggest issue with SMS, to my knowledge, is that there's no consistency.
Well, those are fair points, because I will say there's a reason why roadmaps are such a big impact in communities. You get me? And why so many communities love them. It's not all about what's in the roadmap. It's not the fact that it's like, oh my God, I fucking love the fact that they're fixing this guy here in the next 3 months. You get me? But it's the fact that people see the roadmap and they're like, okay, I know what's being worked on. I know that, hey, I can expect this in this quarter, for example. But Strange Matter used to have a roadmap. They just strayed away from it, because I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, the size of the team working on stuff. I think they just found that being a smaller team with so many things to handle, it can be a bit overwhelming at times, which is understandable. And it's one of those things that is like, hey, they might miss a deadline or two. And I think they rather not give any promises so they don't break any promises.
Well, that's the problem they do with their old roadmap. And that's the reason I think they got rid of it, is because it became a meme that Fault always misses their deadlines. And because on that roadmap, they had dates on there or time frames. You know, don't put a time frame, you know, just put in there, hey, this is currently working on, this is what we intend to work on, this is what, you know, farther in the future intend to work on, and this is what's what has been fixed, and that's it. There's no time frame for that. You just know that currently they're working on items. That's all we know. Items and whatever. And we know that later on, we know that, you know, after items, we're going to start working on map, whatever. There's no time frame. And then when it gets checked off, we're able to go into the Trello or whatever you want to use. We're able to go in and say, oh, items has now moved over to completed. So we know that they're finished with the items right now, you know, and now they're going to focus this. There's no time frame on that. And that's what they can do. And that's going to be beneficial for the community, for them to see that, because right now we have nothing. Well, you know what that's going to suck for, and only a little bit it's going to suck for. And it's going to suck for the Fault Partner Panel, because right now this is what the community looks forward to every week, is to come here and to hear at least somebody else talk about the state of the game, because there is no Trello to show you the state of the game. So we can only speculate on what we think is what's going on in that situation. So it's going to hurt our viewership in a little bit, but it'll also give us more content to talk about. So maybe it won't hurt too much.
I don't think it'll hurt us. Worst comes to worst, we got more shit to talk about. You feel me?
Exactly.
Like you don't find much that we fully agree on. So
if we're gonna lose 5 viewers because of that, fine. I'll take losing 5 viewers if it gives us more to talk about. I'm all about it.
Now, this is a very interesting question, and I'm going to bring it up just because it is a fair comment, and I've heard it at least once or twice before. So, shout out to Mike Wolfie again. So he says, here's the question. No content, fine. It happens. Where are the resources going into? We know that they constantly put out patches, but is that everything? So for example, let's give credit where it's due. Strange Matters has pushed out a shit ton of balance patches and updates and bug fixes and stuff. So that's between the testing team and I guess you could say their coders to implement these changes and etc. Right? But that is a fair question. So are the resources, is the money, is that what it's being focused on? Is there budgets for other things like skin creation and stuff, but we just haven't seen the repercussions of it, right? Because we brought up many times before, we've seen some dope skins like Richter concept skins that Strange Matter themselves have showed off. The Panda Bear Boar skin we saw.
Vacation,
etc. Vacation Severog. So we know that there's the art team is doing their thing. They just stopped showing us, but we know that the art team is there. And we saw even Vacation Severog go from concept to skin, because they did show us the finished result. It's just not implemented. So we know that's in the back burner. And it's like, okay, so we have, so giving Strange Matter credits, we have seen the art department, the 3D modelers and stuff. We've seen work out of them. We just haven't seen too much of that work being put into the game.
I think what that comes down to is something Bearded said, which is like, having that clarity would be nice. And we're not asking like, how much money are you putting into this? I think what the community needs at this point is just an idea of their focus or direction. So if, let's say for August, the SMS comes out and says this month, they don't have to say they're putting out content, just we are focusing on optimizing for Iggy, that doesn't give a timeline. That just gives what they're focusing on, or like we're focusing on fixing Richter, or we're focusing on what skins are coming next. Just having an idea, and it doesn't have to be a single solitary thing. We're focusing on our marketing strategy and making sure Richter's out before then. Like just having an idea, even if it's nothing concrete, nothing solid, just anything would be helpful for the entire community, because from what I'm hearing and from what I've experienced, it's just unclear what their focus is. Are they focused on making the visuals look better? Are they focusing more on balances? Are they focusing more on what they can do to make the game easier for new players? Are they focusing on bringing new content for older players? It's so unclear, because it sounds like they're trying to do all of that at once, which is very difficult for any company in any capacity to do all of that at the same time. So if we can just get an idea of where they want to focus, that would be a good start.
So I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. At least, I don't know. I guess the word I would use would be clarity, right?
Yeah.
Like clarity on their intentions, clarity on their goals. And I will say, like, at the end of the day, like I was mentioning earlier briefly, I really do feel like they have some sort of vault that we're just not able to see or something. Like just like this fucking bomb of like content that they're holding on to, because we've seen shit in the past. Like, and I'm talking about like that Severok skin. How long ago was that, Bearded? A year and a half ago?
Hey, I'm a boomer, man. I don't have a memory like that. I can't tell you.
That shit was like a year and a half ago.
Considering that was the ballpark, goddamn.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it was a while ago, and it just hasn't been implemented. But we saw it go from concept, and then a couple months later, they showed from concept to skin. They had the skill to do it. So, but even back then, we agreed it's like, okay, you know what? They're probably holding off for like free release or full release or free to play or something. But I I gotta say, I truly sympathize with what Wolfie said, because as a consumer, granted we're partners too, but as a consumer, I can't help but sit here and just think to myself, it's like, okay, where is the money going to? Because there could be a shit ton of stuff going on behind the scenes, but as a consumer, you only see what you're shown. And if you haven't been shown too much, like we've seen some, again, like Astro Gideon and etc. But, and for example, we did get that little sneak peek answer in their last dev stream that they did say that they're working with a third-party company to port the game to console. So I'm assuming that in its own is going to cost money, of course, because no work is free. Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like little things like that. Like if we hadn't asked one question as a community, and then that answer kind of came up, would we have ever found out that they're working with a third-party company porting to consoles? You know what I mean? Like I felt like that answer was more of a slip up. Because I noticed them in the dev stream. Somebody brought up something about console. It's like, no, yeah, we're working with a third party company, and they just kind of shrugged it and kept going. So I like reiterated. I was like, third party company, so that means we'll probably get console a little bit faster than you think, than most people think, because that's a whole nother company handling it. You don't have to, so you can focus on other stuff.
Right.
And they answered it. They said, well, yeah, naturally, that's what it means. So you get me? Like I hear things like that out of the dev stream, and I'm like, okay, so that's an avenue that we can confirm that is, hey, money's probably going there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not known. It hasn't been talked about. They might have been keeping that in their back pocket and slipped talking about it. You get me? And we do see Strange Matter do this a lot. Like, hey man, I could say 10 different things right now, but I can't tell you more. Gonna have to wait till we're ready. You get me? They're very known for doing that whole illusion in front of you until they decide to come out with the information that they want to release when they want to release it, right?
So not to change the subject, but I want to, before it gets too far up there, Extort talks about the Richter. Speaking of Richter, and it's something I agree with. Like, at least give us an update. You know, can we get an update on Richter and on what's going on? Like, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't want it to be the, hey, we're still working on an update, but like something, you know, like, are we any closer to getting him back? Are we, you know, have you found at least something that might be causing it, you know, whatever, like give us something, let us know, because like the fact that you took something away, like they've done this before, right? They've had certain heroes that bugged. I think it was Muriel got taken away for a little bit. I think Steel also got taken away for a little bit, but it was quick. Like it was like days, you know, and that hero came right back. Now, like Richard's been gone for a bit and we've got nothing, you know, and communication is key. Like you as SMS, you pride yourself on having the community, you know, being built by the community, right? Well, keep the community involved, you know, let them know what's going on, talk to them, update them, like give us something. Like it doesn't have to be a patch. Every announcement doesn't have to be a patch. It can be an announcement. Hey, this is where we're at. This is what's going on, you know, and let us know what you think about this or whatever, and give us, I don't know, get some engagement going on too. But like something we've had nothing.
Yeah. Even if it's something like, sorry, we're still struggling with Richter. Yeah, that would suck to hear, but it would at least give us an idea. This goes back to what Windu said.
I think so.
Clarity. Well, no. I'm just saying, like, the clarity, that's what we're asking for. If they say we don't know what's going on with Richter or we're struggling, it would still suck 100% because, you know, we're not getting Richter back, but it's something, you know, then people aren't like constantly waiting. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best thing to do, just that clarity, as you mentioned, just an idea of what's going on, or if we're almost done with the Richter, or it's just missing that little bit of communication that seems to be the biggest issue. Because even you mentioned, like, during dev streams, they say we have things we could say but we're not going to, and if that's what they say for a lot of things constantly, then it becomes less of a tease and more of we're just saying that and you just have to believe us at that point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like the weight to the words start lessening if you keep on saying that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like we keep having these moments of we have things ready, we just can't say it yet. But if you say that every stream and it's not revealed in equal parts, like we've got 3 things ready to go, be happy and excited for that, and then next event or update comes and it's one minor thing, then you just think back to, well, they said they had at least 3 things ready. Why was only like half of that come out? So it's just wording and figuring out what SMS is wanting to give the community back, like that connectivity.
So on the Richter side, I will say I'm pretty sure if they would have already found what was exactly wrong or what was causing it, they would have fixed it. You get me?
Oh, yeah.
Like, for example, what is it? Do you remember when Kalari used to get stuck on objects? Like, you would teleport and your teleport would go nowhere, right? So, yeah, so she would teleport to people and just stay in place, but you wasted your ult. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? So it literally came down to being, it's like, hey, you have to be within a certain vicinity of like a specific rock. And then simultaneously, you had to have a specific item on while having a specific skin on. You feel me? Like, it was like a chain reaction that would just cause that one thing to not work. And I forgot the number, but I want to say at the time, some of the testers told us that it took like 80 man hours just to find that one specific bug, like exactly what was going on. You feel me? But that's like, hey, like we might spend a couple hours, like their testing team might spend a couple hours here and there, like a couple, because they got other stuff to work on too. But could you imagine sitting there for 80 hours trying to figure out what's wrong with like a specific bug you're trying to fix, and then you fix that shit? You get me? Like, finally it got fixed. But some things are easier to find than others, and I'm assuming if they haven't fixed it already, especially if it's something like taking a character out, I'm assuming it's because they haven't found out exactly what's causing it.
Yeah, and this is one of the weirder bugs that I've heard in any capacity, where specifically a character's ultimate kicks people from the server. And it didn't even sound like everybody from the server. Like, it would kick like 8 of the 10 people out. Like, what do you test to try and even figure out what caused that? Is it
for real? Like, the scenario sounds suspicious as hell already.
Exactly.
It's like, you tell me that, it's like, no fucking way. You tell me only 2 people got kicked?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
It sounds like
Were those AMD guys? I don't know. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and speaking of glitches that are actually currently ongoing, partly because of Kalari, but partly because of just the way the map is, oddly enough. Real Easy mentioned this in the chat. Right now, if you teleport to somebody backing, you teleport to their fountain and fall through the map. You fall through the map for a good 10 seconds and then you die as Kalari.
Oh,
so that's
I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, and the only reason I can confirm this is one, I saw it happen on somebody's stream, and two, a friend of mine that plays Gideon, when we're winning and we're going to take their core, he'll TP into the back of their spawn and fall through the map. So it seems there might be a glitch where if you're in the enemy's spawn, the floor doesn't exist for you. I haven't confirmed this myself, but that also is another thing going on top of the fact that Richter might be crashing games.
So, I mean, who knows if that might be an issue that's going on that they're working on, right? Because it's one of those things that typically, outside of teleporting over, typically the moment you touch the edge of that core, of that base, you insta-die. You feel me?
Yeah.
So they might have never had thought about like, hey, we should code just in case somebody lands on the floor back there. Typically, there's like that good foot of a death beam area. The moment you set foot, bam, insta-die. So maybe there's just a threshold they need to raise up, or maybe it's like, hey, man, maybe that's just an effect that they have to implement throughout the entire back area floor. Like, they'll probably work on it by all means. Yeah. But yeah, that's the first I've heard of it. It's not like I try to teleport into people's cores though. So
no. But when it comes to Richter, it's like, it sounds like such an oddly niche glitch. In like, I never experienced it. I only played him twice, but I played against him as well, and it never happens. And I'm just curious. I wish I was a part of SMS simply to ask, like, is there a confirmation of when it happened? Was there a character that it happened to that it happened? And they're probably going through this 100%.
Mhm.
It just is, it sounds like such a difficult thing to test because, you know, I mean, to anyone in chat or to both of you, when have you guys heard of an ability being used crashing or kicking people from a game server? Like, when does that happen?
Specific person.
Yeah, on a specific person doing an action. Like, that just sounds like such a hard thing to figure out. So I understand why it's taking so long.
Sounds like a game of Clue.
Sucks. Yeah, exactly.
Like, who killed General Custard? I was like, oh shit, bro. I don't got time for this fucking game. Like, shit.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, and just based off of the chat that I've been reading here, because again, guys, we do record these live on Bearded Wolverine's Twitch channel on Fridays, by the way. Check that out. But just in case there might be any confusion, again, like the subjects that we are bringing up with more of the objective of constructive criticism, right? Like sometimes you have to hear things that you don't like just in order to be like, hey, maybe we should focus on this. And we don't shy to that ourselves, right? But we do try to keep it as constructive as possible. That's why we also try to give ideas and such. But I will say, as a consumer, with the thought of clarity, I get kind of confused sometimes, just like sitting there and be like, okay, what's Strange Matter's next move? What would be the logical next move? You feel me? Or what would be the best move for marketing for the game? And I feel like I never see whatever they have planned coming, bro. I feel like it's literally so far out of the left ballpark sometimes. Like, we ask so many questions for so long, and then out of nowhere, it's like, a movie? Yeah, it's like a movie? Lupa? Like that? When was this being worked on? You feel me?
Right.
I would love to just get more clarity, and I understand why they might not want full, like 100% transparency, considering there are the competitors out there also, because the gaming world is a world where you steal ideas shamelessly. It's at this point, it's very rare that you do something that hasn't been done by now, right? It's just about what you decide to implement that's been tried and tested through other games, etc. So if anything, they have the advantage that they can learn from other games, both success and failures. But I gotta say, bro, I can't, like, watching and analyzing Strange Matters for the last 2.5 years, I have no idea what their strategy is. I really don't. And I'm down to hear any theories in chat.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know what their next move is. I do know what needs to be their next move, and it needs to be changing things up to help the new player, veteran player experience. Veteran players shouldn't be put into games with new players to where it's just like it's a thrown match, right? Where you have to try to carry your hardest because, you know, these people don't know how to get items. New players shouldn't be thrown up against veterans to where they're just going to get rolled on and not have a good experience.
So let's talk about that new player experience real quick, because you and I sat through a few matches, and we literally, you know, we sat there, and every time we were like, hey man, this team doesn't seem fair. Either we were going up against people that were way newer, or we were getting stomped by, like, hey, who the fuck let that man on the other team? You feel me? We sat there and we did average elo of both teams, and it always came out to be within 100 elo of each other. Not saying that the elo system is perfect, right? But you bring up a very valid point, and we've discussed it a little bit, and we don't know how it might be the best idea to implement it. But you really think hero level could also take a play?
Not hero level, account level.
Account level, excuse me. Account level.
Yeah, account level. And I had the example. You brought up Alpha Wolf earlier. I went up against Alpha Wolf in solo lane one match. And I knew I recognized his name. All right. We played against him. He smoked me, and I understood, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. Played the next match, and he was from solo lane. He went to dual lane, and the dual lane and him were like, I don't know, 120 plus account level, going up against two dual lane that were both level 13. I knew right away from the get-go that we were gonna get smoked, because they were just gonna roll over the dual lane, and that's what happened. He went 25-2 and whatever. Like, it was insane. Like, I mean, good on him, but like also not good on him. Like, you just rolled over somebody new, and you possibly could have made that person's experience enough to where they're not going to play it anymore. I know you haven't played it in a year or whatever, but like, it sucks, and that's where it's not his fault. That's where SMS needs to step up, and they need to put in account level to be a part of that as well. So if you're account level 1 to 25, you're only going to play account level 1 to 25, right? And then if you're account level, and that number can change, it doesn't have to be 25, it could be 50. I think a level 50 account level is still going to be better than playing against a level 128. Like, that person's not as experienced, so that's something that needs to happen. And then like, you have that level 50 to 300 or whatever, you can play them because they're experienced. Veteran players playing against veteran players is fine. Right now, are you playing? That's where the elo comes in, right? You're gonna play against a level 50 bronze if you're level 300 bronze. Like, you're both bronze. Fight to see who gets the better part of it. It happens. The level 300 person might win because they have more experience. Who knows? But account level definitely needs to be a part of it, because that right there was an impossible win.
So I will say the dangerous part of what you mentioned, which it's not horrible ideas. We've seen similar things implemented into other games, right? I'd say that the dangerous part with the size of the community that we have is that you will get to a point that now you have golds, plats, and diamonds that are having to wait half an hour for a game because it became a more stricter environment for matches, and then they go make a smurf because arguably the ones that make the smurfs, the ones that are really, really good at the game, are arguably some of the most passionate and the ones that want to play the game. They want to play the game so much that they rather make an account and go up against new people instead of not play at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but that goes back to what we talked about. It was last week or 2 weeks ago. There is ways other games do it, and so Fall can do it as well. You can start, implementing a Smurf system, right, to weed out the Smurfs, right? If that person starts getting, I don't know, X amount of CS, if they're able to average this amount of CS, then it's a pretty good chance that's a Smurf. Move them over and let them, because if they're playing that well, then they can move up here. If they have, their KDA is averaging 8 or whatever KDA, move them over to the Smurfs. If they're averaging a 90% win rate, move them over to the Smurfs. You can start weeding them out. Like, yeah, the early games, it's gonna, those first levels, it's gonna be hard to do that, but once they get so far up, you can weed them out real quick. There's certain things that you can put in there to help with the matchmaking and stop that from being a thing.
So both of these conversations are both good points, and technically both are correct in their own regards. Obviously, we need a way to make sure newer players and people that have new accounts can stick to not playing level 400 pluses, level 120 pluses with gold level characters on like 4 separate characters. But we also can't have it so that way new players are stuck with new players, because then we get to the issue of smurfing. And as much as SMS can attempt to do something about that, neither solution is going to be perfect. And that's always the issue when it comes to every game, even games that have much larger populations where it's like hundreds of thousands per day. The issue, I think, comes down to the players in that regard, because obviously people can be passionate about the game. That's perfectly fine. People can try and want their best to stomp as hard as they want. you can't exactly fault someone for that. But
I see what you did there.
yeah. But, my account's only level 20. I've not played the game too terribly long, but I'm getting lobbies where I'm playing against, high level accounts that have master rank on like 4 characters. I'm not bad at the game. I'm not a smurf because obviously I knew to fault, but I'm able to keep up with these people. So if I was in an account level lock, just because I was good enough to learn the MOBA fast enough, I'd feel bad for stomping people. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes I get into games where I can tell that, maybe the enemy Twin Blast or the enemy Cosmos is Gideon is trying their best and are trying to learn the game. So as a more experienced player in that regard, what I do to fix that is either I'll try a meme build because I play Countess Jungle. I could roam everywhere, and what I do is I try new items. Let's see, how does Mana Lens work as first item? Doesn't work that well for anyone curious. But like I'll try a new item, see how this feels, because I know I can beat them in a fight, but I want to try new things. Or
right.
Because games sometimes don't last long enough, or it's a struggle to get to the same point, I'll try and get full build. So I'll focus on CSing, I'll focus on clearing my jungle, focus on neutral objectives. And if I'm in a lane, which I don't do often, but if I'm in a lane and I notice that I can easily stomp wherever I'm fighting, I'll focus CS. But if they start a fight, I'll fight back and punish them for attempting that. Because you still have to teach people, sometimes There's just a gap. Sometimes there's just a gap. But it's the mentality that some of these higher people have, that they just want to always do their best and always stomp. That is fine sometimes, but if that's every game, and if you notice that somebody's new to the game, don't go out of your way to target and punish that person for trying in the game. Focus on getting your full build. If you get full build before them, then there's only so much you can do, and then you have to, at that point, you have to end the game. And I'm not saying throw for them. Just focus on getting your build. Focus on maybe other lanes. If you're beating your duo, go help your mid if they're struggling. It's more the player mentality and how people play over what statistical numerical systems could SMS put in to fix all these issues, or at least do their best. I just think players need to, try new things as well, because, one thing I pride myself on is seeing what the meta is and then trying things around that. Not just, here's the best, here's only what I should do, and we're going to stick to that. Exactly. Thank you, Windu. And if people want to do meta stuff, it's perfectly fine. That's up to them. I don't want to discourage other people from doing it. It's just, metas never change if everyone runs meta. So I enjoy the challenge of trying something new, putting that out there. And, if I lose a game, oh well, that build didn't work.
I disagree with the metas never change if everybody runs meta, though, because if that's the way it is, that means the devs aren't doing their job. The devs need to balance around meta and make changes to make the meta change. So if they see that they're only running GD crossbow, well, then we need to either nerf GD crossbow or buff, whatever item, to make that, to people make people, oh, maybe I start using this item, and that'll change the meta around. So that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, should, but it does sometimes.
So to go with what you're saying,
Nope.
Sorry, I just read J-Pie in the chat. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to blur it out like that. Bearded, my bad, bro. J-Pie said drastic time, call for drastic measures. Implement a game time queue behind the scenes. So if you're truly experienced, depending on how many hours you have in the game, that takes into factor. Not necessarily your account level, because you could have, I'll be real with you. I'm over 1,000 hours in this game. I just hit level 100 2 days ago, bro. Because I troll half the damn time, all right? But if it's doing its best to put me against other players that are around the 1,000 hours in the game, I could see that help being a factor, quite frankly, more than account level. You get me?
Right. Well, yeah, no. I mean, either way, to me, I think those are potato type things. It's very similar to how you're going to run it. So what I was saying with Dapper, you're the exception to the rule situation. You're the new player that's not the Smurf, but you're good at the game. So I think you would still be put into that Smurf queue situation, because
or you probably get called a Smurf by a lot of new people.
Yeah, Smurf queue / experience queue in a sense, because maybe you're not going to go against Smurfs, but you go up against other people that are you can go up against that level 300 bronze because you're at that level. You're fine. You're able to keep those. You're able to average this CS. You're able to average this KDA. You're able to average, whatever this is, right? Whatever statistic you want to use to weed out Smurfs or experienced players to allow it to you're not just rolling new people. And I think that's how the system I'm talking about. There is no perfect system for this situation. Exactly. But something needs to be done. We can't just sit here as is and let it keep going, doing what we're doing. Yeah. That's the problem. Right? If there was a perfect world, then sweet. Let's whatever that perfect option is. If somebody's got it, speak it up and let's go. But I doubt there's going to be one, and we need to pick something, and something needs to be done about that.
So, I will say, it's also worth mentioning that it literally is impossible for an elo curve to develop in only 2 weeks. So, giving Strange Matter benefit of the doubt. We got this new influx of players. We got old players now figuring where they are. They stomped a new player. Now they're higher on the elo, etc. Like for a bell curve to establish itself on the elo, that's definitely going to take at least more than a month. It's going to take a couple of months for that shit to iron out, right? So with benefit of the doubt, we are kind of prematurely judging on the MMR system when it hasn't necessarily fully. Everybody hasn't gotten into where they have. That's not the situation I'm talking about. The situation I'm talking about is new players. The whole point of going free to play was to get more player base, right? The player base to grow, right? And if you're making the experience for new players to be so negative to where they're just going to quit the game and wait for Predecessor Overprime, then that's not what you're trying to do. Right, you need to do. I get and this is stuff I'm talking about. We need to do this now for that bell curve to happen in a smoother, better for the community fashion. Is what I'm talking about. Like I get that bell curve is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks. But the experience needs to be better for the community. And right now, that experience is not the greatest. So something needs to happen. It's not just matchmaking. There's other things that the experience of actual gameplay that needs things like that need to change. Like this is out of the 3 games that we've played, this is the hardest one to understand and to get behind.
There's multiple reasons for this as well. When it comes to matchmaking and sometimes getting unlucky and getting that high level player. But the lack of any tutorial is the biggest issue, I'd say, because multiple people have said this throughout various different instances. But the lack of a tutorial is, I'm going to be honest, horrendous. Because what the game does is level 5, until level 5 solo, you have to play AI matches. If you know MOBAs, that's more just something to spend your time learning items, learning characters. If you're not used to MOBAs and this is the first one you want to try, you get put into a game where not only is it predictable, because I believe it is the Dawn side Murdock and the Dusk side Greystone. Every single game, those 2 characters are always the best on that team. So you kind of either don't get to play around that, or you always know who to pay attention to. And plus, the Murdock bot always kills
lands a snipe.
A certain amount. Yeah, it's a literal instant kill. So, and the thing is, you can get, if you walk within line of sight of any enemy, he will instantly snipe you. Even if you're not in a fight, if you're just walking through the jungle and the chimera that gets stuck on terrain happens to notice you suddenly on laser and you didn't expect that. And then even more recently, when you're playing solo AI, your allied Murdock and Muriel actually get stuck on each other at spawn. So you lose 2 teammates during one of those AI matches almost every time. So unless you are one of those 2 roles, you lose 2 teammates. So the AI mode of just throwing you in and saying good luck doesn't actually help you and makes it feel like you're a 1v5ing bots, which is not possible for a lot of people, especially getting into it, because it also doesn't teach you about CSing. It doesn't teach you that last hitting gets you extra gold. It doesn't teach you how the fog walls work. Trust me, I don't even technically know how they work. I just know that sometimes they can't see me if I'm standing at the wall.
Sometimes.
So, exactly. Like I don't even know all this stuff. It like when you kill red buff, it gives you a small little excerpt, a little burn and a little slow on hit for like half a second, you know, and then there's no way to see what the mile long of buffs you have actually ends up doing sometimes. Like if you get 4 raptors, it'll give you a small description, but it doesn't tell you specifically what it does. So there's just a lot that isn't explained. And you guys talked about this either last week or 2 weeks ago, but the fact that you have to actually go to the SMS website or the Fault website to look at the aspects outside of game. And not even anyone knows that you can do that sometimes. So the things you get 3 seconds to pick, otherwise you're AFK and spawn. You know, there's just so much that doesn't go explained, and it's just like, hope you figure it out. That's what makes the new experience really difficult.
So I want to elaborate on that, because as an experienced player that saw the AI and went and tested it, I had a totally different reaction and opinion as opposed to somebody new. Now, thankfully, my nephew's here, Puerto Rico. Shout out. He's in the corner of the room listening right now. But he's here from Puerto Rico, and he got a chance to play Vault on a controller. I just hooked up my PS5 controller. There's no settings change or anything. Just plugged it in, started playing. He's a Call of Duty player, you know, typical gamer. Hey Diego, how old are you? I think he's like 16. Anyway, so he's the typical. Yeah, I know my nephew. Sorry. So he's a typical Call of Duty player, right? But he went into the game, started up, and I put him right into an AI mode. Obviously, I'm not gonna. You're not going into PvP, bro. Not on my account, at least. Don't do that shit. Like, so it's like, all right, you're going to AI solo mode. He decided he wanted to be Greystone first. He liked the character, the way it looked, and everything. Like, I'm gonna have zero influence. I'm just gonna watch this shit play out. Bro, I'm telling you, as a new player, he was so confused, so lost. Like the first 5 minutes, he was just sitting at the store. I was like, the fuck do I do? How do I even, like, am I supposed to buy shit? Like what is this? Like there's a store here that's on the screen, and he's like, yo, am I supposed to, like, do I just leave or do I buy some shit? I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, what am I buying? Like the lack of knowledge is honestly very understandable. But I can imagine that there's a lot of players that are new to MOBAs that are going to feel that way, the same way we all were when we first came across a MOBA. It's like, hey man, I need somebody to show me this shit, right? So I saw firsthand how the AI mode was good practice for him, but it wasn't educating for him.
Right.
He literally could have spent 6 hours playing on that AI mode and not learn a thing, because he's still like, I'm kind of figuring it out. You get what I'm saying? Because it just wasn't implemented as an official tutorial or something. You wanted to say something, Bearded? Sorry.
Yeah, so about that, you know, you said he didn't, you know, you load right in, and the first thing you do, you load in, and right there's the store. Store's popped up, right? And for us experienced players, we know exactly what to do. But for those new players, the inexperienced players, or the people who just don't want to waste time, how would you guys feel if there was like an auto buy feature, like what Pred had for their last stress test? The auto buy feature is automatically on, so the first thing you do, you load into a game, bam, whatever auto buy is, bam, it's already bought for you, and you either have to go and undo all of that and turn auto buy off, or you just let it go, and there you go, and everything is just going to be auto buy, it's an auto buy recommended.
I love it. Like, I gotta say,
yeah.
Oh my bad.
No, you're good. That is a good idea, and that can lead to some very, you know, early on it'll help you a lot because it'll give you the items so you can stay in the game. But at some point, people will have to learn what those items are doing. So there has to be some way to introduce people on what it actually means to buy. Because if you have auto buy, good thing, really good thing. But eventually, when they have to buy themselves, what's going to explain that to them? And even then, auto buy is not matchup specific in any capacity. So not a bad thing, but
I mean, I will say
it's going to feel difficult sometimes.
Yeah, but I will say, at least first impressions from what I saw, it can be very overwhelming for a new player to focus on buying and how to play the game and what's going on. And it's like, yo, why is he shitting on me? Because he's 4 levels above me. What the fuck does that mean? Like, it's incredibly overwhelming. So I do agree that people are going to have to learn eventually. There's just some that don't. There's some casuals that just literally auto buy. They play for fun and that's it. For real. Which is 100% okay. But I do see that in a lot of games that have auto buy, and this is coming from like me playing with a lot of like core community members of mine that are very new to MOBAs, like Big G, Joker, like they're in the chat right now. Like, it's like every MOBA that they've tried, whether it be Smite or anything, like Smite has an auto buy feature. Like, I literally went through with Joker and on Smite, and it's like, hey, these are the items we're gonna do for your auto build. Focus on playing the game. Gets his mechanics going. He gets his game sense going. I understand how objective works. I understand how this works, etc. And then once he's got a hang of that, then he turns auto buy off. He's still buying the same items, but at least now he's in control. And then he starts asking me questions, and I can see it like a good mobile player developing. So shout out to him. And it's like, do we build trauma? When's a good point? When's a good moment that we build trauma? You get me? Like, there is an eventual progression, but I definitely feel like auto buy at least helps them have fun in the game before they can truly learn to understand. Does that make sense when I say it that way?
Yeah, and I wasn't against auto buy. I'm just saying that eventually they will have to learn. And I think this comes to something almost everyone I know has been asking for, which is the ability to make your own build for characters before going into the match. Because then you can turn auto buy on, and if you have friends or if you want to learn the game, you can look online like, what's a good build for this character? Because it might not be what SMS recommends. But then you can just have that be the personal build you have with auto buy on. Then it buys the items for you. And hell, that would even help like higher level players as well, technically, because what you can do is, I always have the same first item. I always have the same second item. So if I can just get the item, wait for healing and go, then I don't need to spend that extra time in the shop anyway. So, it helps them more than just the new players as well.
Right.
Like you could auto buy the initial item.
Right. And as long as you have the ability to undo that, right? Because what if, like, all right, normally my third item, let's say my third item is lifesteal, but they have 3 tanks. All right, I need Titan Slayer, so that's not my third item now. I need to undo that third item and bring in Titan Slayer and start building that instead. And you can undo that situation. That as long as you're able to do that, I agree with you. It definitely is more beneficial because that's the one thing. But talking about new players, that is what the auto buy is, just something for you to learn the game and something you don't have to focus on. You just have the ability to sit there and focus on your lane and on your objectives, right? And that was my biggest thing. That's actually what I say when I played Paragon. Dapper, you wouldn't understand, but for everybody else that's listening, playing Paragon, I love the card system. A lot of the big Paragon players hated the card system. But the card system to me was easy. I wasn't sitting there and focused on building all these items and getting tier 1, tier 2, and then finally finishing the item or whatever. I literally would get these 3 cards of my early cards, these 3 cards of my mid game cards, and these 3 cards of my late game cards. And that would be my card system. And I would just build to that. But it gave me the ability to focus on my lane and learn what I'm supposed, because Paragon was my first actual true MOBA that I played, legitimately. It wasn't like I dabbled in the what was it, a Warcraft 3, their little mini game that Dota had, there. I dabbled in that for a little bit, but other than that, I didn't really play that much into it. So this being my first true MOBA, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't put a ward up. I was getting ganked all the time, and I didn't understand how to stop it, but I was learning things as I go. And I think auto buy would be that same situation to help the new players just focus on what they're supposed to be doing.
Oh yeah, very much so. And that's just one of the few things that would help because, there's just always so much going on that having that auto buy would be helpful, to say the least.
What about same situation, right? We're looking at auto situations. Favorite points. What if they put in like an auto spend on favorite points? I go to streams and I watch new players. I've seen the new player and they like 8 favorite points just sitting there. I'm like, dude, spend your favor. Like you.
What is that?
Like if you would have spent your favor, you probably would have won that last fight. Like so much going on there.
A favor that took me. It never gets explained. So it took me so long to learn what that even was. When I was picking up Fault, it was, hey, you've got something to spend. Spend it. I was like, spent it. And since most people end up taking 2 of the same color when it comes to their aspects, I don't see why it wouldn't auto spend anyway on that. It's like, it's not like you're going to have to decide between 2. I think if somebody chooses the same color for both aspects, it should just auto spend. Otherwise, it's just an extra step you have to do that's going to be guaranteed anyway. If you have 2 red, you get that extra attack speed guaranteed. It doesn't matter which one you put it in. So I don't see why it doesn't auto spend that anyway. I think if you pick if you get 2 separate ones, then you would have to do it manually because then the game's not going to decide for you. Because if you want that health from a green or that AD from a purple, then
that would be the hard part about it because that has to be something that you couldn't undo in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still code it to where like it always defaults to your first pick, right? That
would be an idea, yeah.
Whatever your control 1 or whatever the button is, I can't remember what it is, but whatever that is, for your for aspects, it could always default for your first pick, right? So whatever your first aspect that you choose, it could default for that. But like late game, like for me, the way I build most of the time, I do purple and red, right? And I'll put like 10 aspects in red and get my attack speed to where like I'm pretty much like max attack speed now. And then I'll start putting everything in purple just to get more physical power because I don't want there's a certain amount of attack speed you can get, then you can't do anymore. So you're just wasting favor. So then I like to put it in purple and get more physical. So let's get physical. Anyways, but then, but it would, you wouldn't have that ability to you'd have to literally turn it off. So for the newer players, again, this would be only a newer player benefit. An actual experienced player wouldn't want this on. And again, like unless you said it was both colors, the same colors, then you would have then it would be an auto buy thing. You could just have it on, no problem. But if you pick 2 different colors, you're not going to want that on as an experienced player.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what though, and similar to what you guys were saying earlier, besides just the aspects being available on the Learn tab, a simple, like, I wouldn't even care if there's a book sitting in the corner of the menu that when you click on it, it's literally just informative. What does red buff do?
Glossary.
Yeah, exactly. What does red buff do? What does blue buff do? What does blue shrine do? What does gold shrine do? Etc. Right? Because it is one of those things that, again, I've been explaining this shit a billion fucking times over the 2.5 years. By devs themselves. Ask me exactly how you earn favor right now. I might give you 3 out of like the 7 ways. Legit, I'm gonna be like, okay, so hold on. So I know every 7 kills and assist is a favor point. Every 30 minion CS is a favor point.
25.
I was gonna say, I thought it was 25.
Is it 25? Fuck, see? 25.
This is the point.
You get my point, bro. Like, I'm like, yo.
Yeah. Some Raptors give you 2. Lesser Helix and Prime give you different numbers. Alpha gives you 5. Alpha Raptor gives you 5.
Raptor, not some Raptors. Only regular Raptor gives you 1.
Yeah.
So regular Raptor gives you 1. Alpha Raptor gives you 5. Or then the Primes give you 2.
Okay. Either way, this is
every
is the exact
gives you
reason
1.
We're asking for the glossary for like what gives what, favor. How do you get it? And here's a list of each thing you can do to get more favor. What does favor actually do? What do these symbols mean? Because not everyone knows the symbols off the top of their head. And one thing I definitely think needs to be added is more explanation on what some of these keywords mean, like trauma. Some people will, read the little excerpt that says reduces healing, but otherwise, there's something known as wither. What I still don't
knew
know
that
what
was
wither-
coming. I knew that was
I don't know
coming.
what wither does. Is that just a slow? What is it different than slow? Less attack damage, less attack speed. There's
Well,
so many random keywords that
I'll give you that one because
but-
the one that threw me off for the longest was endurance.
endurance. Yeah, in other games that's known as tenacity, where you're stuck in CC for less amount of time. So exactly, that's the point. Is there are certain keywords that are changed from this MOBA and other MOBAs, and if you know none of them, you can't even take a guess what they mean. Like applying trauma to your enemy without any knowledge, what does that even mean? So
Right. I remember when some of these first words started getting included in there, me and Bearded would literally just go be like, "Hey man, pull up dictionary.com real quick. The fuck does that word mean?" And we looked up withered. That's how it's like all right, you know what? I'm gonna be with you. I still have zero fucking idea. Let's DM a dev real quick. See what the fuck wither means.
Yeah, well, we did a Fault Partner episode on it. It was when they brought in the new icons and what they meant, what they were for, and stuff. And wither being was definitely one of them. That's when you said it, I knew it was coming up because wither is a tough one. And actually right now we looked it up. We had a dev tell us what it meant, and I still can't tell you exactly what it is. I'm sure somebody in chat can let it know.
But never know.
Somebody in chat will let us know because there is something that somebody has explained this before. I remember it, but I can't tell you. Like right now, I can't think of it. But
wasn't it like you're basically weakened as a
You just
simile,
do less
basically
damage. That makes sense.
like you're basically weakened at the end of the day. Like if you're withered, you're basically an easier target, so to speak. Like you do less damage. You also get. I mean.
No, it just doesn't sound. I mean, from what I remember, if somebody came up and said this is what withered is, I would be like, okay, and then I'd read it. I'm like, yep, I remember that now. So
because whatever it is, it's
mod in chat,
35%. So it's a decent chunk of whatever it's stopping.
Right.
The attack speed debuff. Okay, their attack speed is cut by 35% for 3 seconds. That's strong, depending who you're targeting.
You do that on a carry. That's massive.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You do that on like a Boris. There goes all his life steal. There's just
But endurance, I remember endurance when we talked about that was something I was thinking like you could run for longer, right? You get that speed boost off of base or whatever. You could run farther because you have so much endurance. Like you could get across the map a little faster. Like you have the endurance. You don't get tired as quick, because that to me as a cross country runner when I was in high school, it was forever ago. One room classroom for the whole high school. Anyway,
A beer to go.
yeah, a beer to go, right? So yeah, I mean that was what endurance was. Like you had the ability to run longer. So I was like, all right, think of that. But then
go further, faster.
Right, but it makes sense for what it is. If you think of the word endurance, you're able to endure the CC, better than what other people can. So I get it, but that's not what I was thinking when I read the word endurance.
It's just a little vague at first if you don't know going into it. Yeah.
Right.
A simple glossary, because they clearly have this information, right? I think it's just more for them probably as to how they implement it and the fact that they have to mess with the UI and everything. That's all I'm like, even their website, right? Like even if their website was fully updated, fully optimized and everything, I still think it's a big miss to not have some sort of hyperlink in the menu. Like they literally could have a read glossary here, click on it, and it opens up a web page with default website learn tab. You get me?
Yeah.
Like even that, like, okay, you know what? Like it's not in the game yet. It might be easier to make it on the website, but having it something in the game that people can click on, even if it takes you out of the game, would be better than nothing. Even though optimally you would want everything in the game. And I always use Hunt Showdown as a great example, because they got glossaries for days. You could find out the origin of a random ass zombie that you killed and you don't even fucking care. It's like, oh, I like this story. I don't give a fuck. Like, yo, but
yeah, there's just so much in the game that goes unexplained that like if you don't have MOBA experience or no one explains it to you, you're just never gonna figure out what it means unless you trial and error that stuff. And this is another thing that I think needs to be implemented eventually. This is a longer term thing. It shouldn't be, but with everything going on. Eventually, they should add a sort of training grounds area to where you can just go in there with any character you choose, with any amount of gold.
Which they did confirm.
Okay, they did confirm that. Thank God
Yes.
that's getting added, because that is such a necessary thing.
They confirmed
Because-
that is coming, and they also confirmed that an ARAM map is coming.
A training
As far as-
Oh yeah. The
a training
gym.
grounds in an area.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
called it a
they call it the
gym.
gym.
Interesting, but all right.
Yeah,
So
that's where you
I
train.
think that, hopefully, I'm going to say this sooner rather than later, so hopefully they pick it up. You should be able to go into that training ground with your friends and then turn, like friendly fire off and on, because then you can get specific character interactions and figure that sort of thing out, get to trial and error these things. Because the dummy's nice and all, but all you're going to get is damage numbers. You're not going to see how
What
it affects a training dummy, because its attack speed's not going to go up or down. It's just sitting there. So if you're able to have an ally in there, as a support, you can see, does getting the item that shares a health bar, how much does that increase or decrease? What items would optimize damage reduction? Are there, stuff like that you can figure as a support. As an assassin, you can get those micro damages in that you really need. Or as a tank, you can have a full built twin blast shoot you and see what build would be optimized against them.
Yeah.
Because
I think what you want is what D-Trigger's saying. Is they need you to be able to change the enemy dummy and their items level and favor. So
Yeah.
if you want to know, like, hey, if I'm going against a twin blast that is level 12 and has 15 favor, and with these items, how much am I going to be able to? How long can I sit there and take damage from this twin blast? And I understand what you're saying with having a teammate in there, but they need to have it that way. Maybe not so much having a teammate in there, because
not everyone has someone to play
maybe
with
you're
them.
like me and you don't have friends, so like you just do what you can, as a loner. So
I mean, that's why I think you should have both, because I'm on at odd hours of the night or day, depending. So not always will I have someone to talk to. So that's why having both is a good option. That way you can do it with somebody. So that way it's easy to test both back and forth. But if you don't have that other person, you could just use a bot in there and set that up. That way it's good for both. Or you can test other things, like as a support, what can I do to them while they're attacking someone or taking damage? There's so much you can do with having both of those as options. So I just think it should be added, that you can have either the bot be customizable or a friend in there, or both. Hopefully both, but
Yeah, Jippa says something interesting here. He says, I always felt that if they refined the core gameplay loop of the game would flourish. Vault's gameplay is the best part about the game, hands down.
I'd hope the gameplay is the best part about a game when talking about any game. But
fair enough. Not always the case, but fair enough.
I know.
Fair enough.
Just a little cynical there. But
right. But in that defense, though, what we're talking about here, the Para Zombies, in my opinion, and I know this isn't everybody's opinion, but I think Fault has the best gameplay loop out of the 3 Para Zombies.
I've only played 2 of them, and the reason I prefer personally Overprime is because it's much more brawly, and that's a separate topic. But for Fault, my view on that is, and I've talked to Bearded about this, is it's one of 2 ways. It's either an even fight back and forth, or it's a one-way stomp. You'd think those are the only ways, but no, not really. Because I either find everyone's running about the same level, everyone's about either, from 14 to 12 in terms of levels, or the entire lobby's 12 to 10, and there's a random level 18 running around their map, smashing everybody. So when it comes to the gameplay loop, it's inconsistent. When it's a good gameplay loop, it feels good. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of contesting neutral objectives, flanking, getting.
But if you go back and look at those games, those ones that you're talking about, that's when you had either a Smurf in that lobby, or you had a 5-stack in that lobby, or you had, just a higher level player in that lobby. you know, in that situation. So if you take the lobbies that you had a good, you know, those good matchmakings, those like, hey, it's back and forth. I bet you look at that lobby and it's a good, like, hey, nobody's high level, nobody's smurfing. It maybe is a 5-stack, because me and Windu 5-stack all the time, but we're not out here just like stopping. Like, we're not just, hey, now we're masters because we 5-stack all the time. We just boosted each other. No, we win, lose. We're literally is a back and forth. So the whole argument of people hating 5-stacks, it's not like we're out here just smashing people. So don't come at me with that.
Yeah, so. and that's what I was saying, is that those oddball games, those one person stomping whole matches, or where it just feels like all 5 of them could run any of us down at any time, you know, those are exceptions. You know, they happen not too infrequently, but they're not every single game. It's more often that I find a good back and forth, and those are the ones that feel good. It's just sometimes it feels like, unless someone of at least enough experience is telling someone what to do, like push right lane, push up mid, everyone on both sides ends up going back to laning phase at some point at the level of gameplay that I'm at. Eventually everyone goes back to sitting in lane farming, junglers go back to jungle farming, and you know, sometimes laners take jungle farm, which is fine, but like eventually it just goes back to everyone farming minions at some point until one person gets caught out. Then it's a random 5-man fight, or for Raptors or Prime or whatever. But those are the only times that I would say the loop needs a little bit of an improvement. But that's just players. Players need to become more educated in what to do when. Because for now, it just feels like I find games to where people just go back to laning phase because they don't know what to do. People don't know how to push. People don't know how to find good engages. And not everyone runs as a 5-stack sometimes. Like, not even 5-stack. Like, group is 5 to rum, or group is 4 while one split pushes. So the gameplay does feel good. It's just sometimes it feels like it goes to a stalemate where nothing happens because the objectives are up.
And being mindful with that too, like if, let's say, throughout the next 2 months, people start separating themselves into like at proper tier levels of experience, right? Because that's only gonna happen through matches. But once they actually separate themselves, at that point, if the gameplay loop is healthy, you should see that be more stable. Because it is very unstable with the fact that when free-to-play came out, the majority of the player base was around 900 elo-ish range, which is bronze, right? Like a good majority of the player base. And then you have all these new players starting the game at a higher average elo than the majority of the player base that was already there. So you're seeing a lot of sorting that's happening right now, which I personally think those newer players, hey man, start them rock bottom and make their way up. It's okay. Like, they're newer players, you feel me? Like, if they're good, they'll shine and they'll get up there. But I will say, like, at least over the next month or two, it's probably going to seem more inconsistent. I'm very curious as to, once it stabilizes out, how is the gameplay loop going to feel then? But that's more of a time will tell situation.
Right. Yeah. Time will tell for sure.
100%.
So things that we've talked about either on this episode or past episodes to help the new player onboarding experience or whatever. What we just talked about tonight: auto buy system, auto favoring system. We've talked about a possibility of a last hit mechanic, being implemented. We've talked about putting hyperlink to the SMS YouTube channel that has a playlist of tutorials either made by them or made by the community that they approved by them. They have approved. They went through and approved or whatever. Again, I'll do it again. Shout out to Killswitch and Skynet.exe. They're doing a great job with their videos they're posting. Skynet.exe just posted a new one for a beginner support role. So check that out. And but putting the hyperlink in there, putting the aspects in the game, not just on the website, because not everybody knows about the website. I think that's a good starting point to help with the new player on board. I mean, hold on, I can't forget this one. Change the matchmaking to where you're including the account level. That right there, you do those things, and I think that will make a drastic change to the new player onboarding and how they feel and how the experience is for them.
For So we're about to wrap up here because we've already passed our 2-hour mark. But how would you guys feel if they had an aspect specifically designed for newer players that it would give you that last hit indicator that we see in other games? Like, it's like, hey, if you hit it now, you do get the last hit. What if they had that as an aspect that new players could choose to get, knowing that they're going to be like, you know, like they're losing another perk, but it's going to make it easier. Similar to how Paragon on the Monolith side, after V42, they had an item that you could equip that made it easier to last hit. How would you feel about that?
I don't think it's enough. I think because the new players already don't know what aspects are, you know, what aspects to pick and stuff like that. I think if we're going to do a last hitting situation, that it should just be there, you know, if you want to if you give it the ability to turn it off, if you don't want it on, but I don't see the reason of turning it off. You know, you might as well take the benefit when you get the benefit. But I think that you're just gonna make it's the same thing as right now of somebody knowing that you can mute all, you know, everybody's complaining, the new players are complaining about how toxic the community is. Well, if you know that, you know, but guess what? There's a way that you can mute everybody, but they don't know about it. You see?
There it is.
Hold on.
When you open up the scoreboard, next to their picture of the character is an exclamation point to report and a little speaker button to mute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I only know about the report button there. I never noticed the speaker.
Yeah, so the speaker button, you go through and you just click the other 4 characters and you click their speaker button, they're muted. You won't see chat by them at all.
You'll still see pings, but no chat.
Yeah, you'll still see the pings, but you won't see anybody, you know, calling you out for feeding or whatever, anything, all that stuff they do, all that toxic stuff, you know, whatever. You know, you have that, right?
Yeah.
People don't know about it, and that's perfect proof right there. So if you just give them an aspect, hey, there's an aspect for that. Oh, I didn't know there's an aspect for that.
Yeah.
And you know,
just start the game and have it highlighted with the words recommended on it.
They have it recommended, but you don't, like, again.
When it comes to minion last hitting, I think it should purely be an indicator, not an execute. Because if it's an execute, then it doesn't matter who you are. You know, sometimes even a support, when you're trying to help get the minions down, you might accidentally get it hit the wrong time. And if you items not stacked up, you know, then you accidentally took CS, which isn't the end of the world. But eventually some ADCs do get tired of that. But I think it should purely be a visual.
Unless I'm pushing the lane, I don't like my ADC hitting the CS at all.
You mean your support?
Don't even support.
Your ADC or your support? Oh, okay.
My support. Sorry, I meant to say support. I don't like my support. Like don't shoot unless I'm telling you, hey, let's push this lane to get this tower. I want to slow push this thing. Let me slow push it. You know, it's going to take time. If you just doing that, that's going to help speed it up even more. I don't want that. Don't do that. Yeah. That's the way I am.
Exactly.
I know there's some people out there that are okay with that.
That's per ADC, though. That's the thing. That's the thing. But just having an indicator when you're last hitting, like if the health bar changes colors, then you know who to focus. Because there's already, when a wave stacks up, the wave can get so massive, it's hard to see a life bar. Exactly. So if one changes color, you're like, oh, shoot that one real quickly, then that one, then that, you know.
Oh, you mean like a color overlay on the character, on the minion itself, you mean?
Well, I'm not even talking about, I mean, it can be the minion, it can be the health bar, it can be the entire health bar itself. You know, it's whatever they want to do with it. But like if the health bar changes from like that orangish yellow that it is to like a red, like a deep red, then it's like, yeah, you can just focus that one, shoot that one, and then move to the next, you know. But I think it commented
on the video before, one of our other videos, and they talked about how the health bars are too big in general as it is for the minions, right? So they overlap each other. So they're talking about how you need to like make the actual health bars smaller to where, because you have a group of minions and those health bars don't interact as well as they should. It's not a very smooth interaction. So when you're aiming, I'm literally pointing at this minion and I'm shooting, but I'm hitting this minion, you know, because the way that it's all interacted, it throws you off. But if you made the health bar smaller to where it's like, okay, and then the hit boxes, you know, and interact the way they're supposed to interact, that would make things better as well. But I understand what you're saying about, you know, having it be a indicator, not an execute. It took me a long time to understand that difference. Because to me, if you give me an indicator, that is telling me
It dies if you hit it.
That minion is able to be executed.
Yes.
If you give me an execute or an execute mechanic, it gives me the ability. It tells me, hey, this minion can be executed. I was like, they're the same thing to me, but now I understand it's a threshold situation or whatever. It's not just what's going on. So yeah. But
I mean, Stranger's got it on point. You just literally hide the minions to have a full health bar. You don't need to see the health bar anyway if it hasn't been damaged.
Yeah. I'm down with that.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're a little bit past our time. The HPP. I can't wait. But yeah, so we're getting towards the end of this, guys. We just want to say thank you very much for everybody that's been watching, tuning in, and everything. Also, do not forget, guys, you guys can catch these videos live on YouTube the following week on Wednesday, so do show some love there. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget you can watch these live and interact with us in the chat on Bearded Wolverine's Twitch channel on Fridays 8:30 p.m. Now, let's do our little outros here. Dapper, what do you got to say to the community? And throw your plugs after the fact.
I've got no plugs currently because I'm taking a small bit of a break from streaming to eventually return to that. But I do have YouTube videos on YouTube, so at Dapper Dice, if you do want to see some Overprime gameplay. I haven't put anything up for Fault. But, you know, I hope to return on this panel at some point. It was very much a pleasure. And, you know, as the game develops and as I develop as a player, I can bring more, you know, finite opinions to this. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
I mean, I'll give you props, man. For your first time here, you did pretty clutch. Shout out to you, homie. Everybody go follow him. Bearded?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Dapper. I'm glad you were able to make it. I knew you were going to give a great point of view. I was streaming one night. You were gaming with me. I was able to talk to you, pick your brain about things, and you have a great head on your shoulders. And it's not just oh, this is the only thing. You know, literally everything can work out. So appreciate you stopping by, and you're definitely always welcome to come hang out. Other than that, what I got to say to SMS is like literally like we need to make this thing better. So we gave you so many ideas here tonight, whether between us three on the panel or the whole everybody that was going at it in chat. Shout out to you guys, everybody in there having conversation with each other. I love seeing the community sit there and go with each other. It's great seeing that. But man, definitely take advantage of all the information that's been given here. You guys, you thrive on the community. Use the community's ideas and let's go. Let's make this game better than what it is right now.
Communication and clarity. That's all we're asking for, really.
Yeah, I was literally just about to double down on that one. Yeah, again, shout out to our guest here, Dapper. But I will say, I am very hopeful for Strange Matter Studios. I'm very hopeful for Fault. I've seen some things that I liked. I've seen some things that I questioned. But of course, if you're not steering the ship, it's always easy to question what the captain's doing, right? So I would just love to see more clarity as a community member. I would love to see more clarity as a partner in general. And I honestly can't wait because we've all seen potential. But after 2.5 years of, oh, just wait till you see what I got to show you, it starts wearing to everybody, quite frankly. And it's one of those things that sometimes, even if that's a good strategy, sometimes a change of pace is needed to make that strategy effective again. You can't just stick with the same exact strategy for 2 years, right? So thank you, everybody that's been watching. We really appreciate you. Join us on the next episode. We really are grateful. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.